Welcome all you ghosts and ghoulies to Conjuring Canvases, the show where spooky art is created and terrifying tales are told.
Just kidding, everybody. Come back, I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Lern the Conjurer, and I am your host. Our show is inspired by Robert Welsh's Ghost Stories and Makeup Mondays. Check out his channel, especially if you love ghost stories and makeup. Need I say more? Today's episode should be pretty obvious, ghosts and ghoulies. We're taking it back to some of your biggest childhood fears, and that is the creepy clown. It's because we're covering clowns today, I decided to dress as a clown. I think I look kind of cute. Honestly, I don't think I really wanted to look creepy. I wanted to just look like a clown, but I'm sure that the canvas behind me is enough to say that it's Creepy Clown Week. I mean, look at that. For the entire look of my clown costume, you can find me on Instagram at Conjuring Canvases. As you can see in the background, we have more paintings that have joined us. So now we have the Hat Man, Bloody Mary, the Vampire Queen, and Mothman! Yay! So many spooky friends, so little time. Before each episode, I like to give a formal disclaimer that simply states I am not an expert in art, nor am I an expert in anything I'm talking about. I am really just doing this for the fun of the spooky. So I have a feeling that you as a viewer also feel the same. I hope you enjoy what we do today, and I'm just very sorry to bring up any past fears. Thanks so much for all the continued support in our show. And as a reminder, Ghosts and Ghoulies, there is an Etsy store where you can find our one-of-a-kind art, as well as some fun individual pieces that I've created for the show. Go ahead and search us at Etsy at Conjuring Canvases. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? One moment, please. Everyone say hi, Zed!
Hi again, everybody!
Hi, Zed. It's nice to see you again today.
Likewise, Lern. I'm ready to get my laugh on with these clowns.
Oh, Zed, did anybody not tell you today that it was about, like, creepy clowns?
What?
Yeah, Zed, we're not talking about, like, happy clowns. We're talking about scary clowns.
Oh, I really am, I'm sick. I don't think I can make it today.
Zed, I know for a fact that you're feeling fine. Also, cover your mouth, wash your hands.
Oh, I mean it. I don't know if I can make it. I can't go on. No, please don't make me.
Zed, are you afraid of clowns?
Maybe only a little bit.
Aw, Zed, that's okay. You're allowed to be afraid of clowns. Tell you what, I'm sure that there's plenty of other viewers out there that feel the exact same way as you and probably can't get through this episode very easily.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't think I can make it through. But I do know one thing that can help me.
Yeah? Zed, what's that? What can help you get through today's episode?
Candy?
How did I not guess? All right, Zed, if you really want candy, I'll put you back in the candy basket.
Yay, candy! Oh, but before I go, just a reminder, if you have a spooky, creepy, weird, or otherwise terrifying tale of your own, please send it to us at conjuringcanvases@gmail.com.
Well, thank you, Zed. I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to put you back into the safety of the candy basket now, okay?
Oh, the Hershey's Kisses, they never do me any wrong.
Whatever you say. Everyone say bye, Zed!
Hi, everybody! Candy, 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 candy.
Now, Zed may be afraid of clowns, but I'm sure a lot of you out there are also afraid of clowns and may also have some terrifying tales from when you remember how the creepy clown epidemic started back in 2016. If this is an episode that you can't get through, Ghosties and Ghoulies, I understand. Just go ahead and skip it. No big deal. But if anything, I can promise you that next week's episode is very fun, very spooky, and more than likely safe for your ears and eyes. So I'll see you then. But if you're brave enough, let's go ahead and get into some creepy clownery. So I already went in and I started to mark the different areas of my lady clown's big collar. Decided I want to make it black, red, and white. because the face is also going to be black, red, and white. So I thought it would be a nice little coupling of color there. But yeah, where do clowns originate from? Well, according to my research, the very first clowns actually came from Egypt. 5,000 years ago, clowns were used to give the pharaohs and of course the rulers of that time some form of entertainment. They didn't call them clowns though, they called them their own special name. But when it comes down to Egypt, they weren't the only ones to have some form of clown or clownery in their royal court. This went around the entire world. We found clowns history going back to the ancient Greeks, ancient Romans, ancient Chinese. They were everywhere, and they were there to essentially entertain. Now, the thing was that depending upon which history you go into, some clowns were given very different looks. Some of them were made to only wear masks. Some of them were also given specific outfits to wear, but also it really was for the purpose of entertaining, even though a lot of them looked pretty terrifying. The history of clowns goes way, way back, and it's actually a lot. There is a lot of history about clowns and clownery. They did not originate in the circus, like I think most people think. They also did not originate in European courts, but European gestures were something that lasted for centuries. The last formal gesture was in the 1700s, so really it lasted for a really long time, the whole clown for entertainment of private courts. So pretty interesting when it comes down to that. And like I mentioned before, clown wasn't a word that was used to dub these gestures, these fools, these entertainers, to say the least. They were given their own words depending upon what culture they came from. So where did the word clown come from? Well, the word clown comes from actually Shakespeare. Wrote Hamlet. He wrote a speech specific for Hamlet's character, for which he was calling someone a clown, and he further identified a clown as someone who is clumsy, foolish, and only accidentally humorous. Hence, the idea of clown was born. Around the 18th century, we had clowns and circuses, and the circus became a huge form of entertainment for not only people with money, but just the general public. Now, you did also have a few of them that worked in freak shows, which I don't like using that word, but that's what they were called back then, so I don't need to use it in a derogatory term. But people would come from all around the world to see these clowns in the circuses, performing these crazy stunts and these funny tricks. They were variety performers, and many clowns today still act in the same traditional realms as clowns from the old circus days. Now today, the circus is, I don't want to say dead, but kind of is. And the thing is that clowns are always, when we think of them today, supposed to be made for children and also supposed to make children happy. If you were a child of a certain generation, sometimes you were able to have clowns visit your birthday party and they do balloon animals or magic tricks. And that's still kind of the case today too. But when did the clown become scary? Oh, there's a term for this phobia. It's called chlorophobia. Basically, it's an intense fear of clowns. Now, there's a lot of psychology behind why people are afraid of clowns. And it does go beyond what we know in pop culture. People are afraid of clowns for a number of reasons. One main reason that a lot of psychologists think is because clowns' makeup tend to be very unsettling. You know, back in the early days of clownery, clowns or fools or jesters wore masks over their face. But then as the centuries went on, clowns began to use makeup and started to paint their faces in these ridiculous manners to make themselves look like they were wearing a mask. So one of the reasons why psychologists feel like people can be afraid of clowns is because their makeup brings up that unsettling, not entirely human look to these people. Because that's really what they are in the end. They're people just like you and me. It's just, there's more factors to it as well. Clowns are also known to be unpredictable. The early history of clownery, when it comes down to clowns, they like to do tricks and they like to do things to surprise you and make it seem like they're hurting themselves. You know, they do a lot of different variety stunts to entertain people. But some people will put it like this. When they think of a clown, is a clown gonna come up to you and give you a balloon animal? Are they gonna give you a flower? Or are they gonna come up and trick you? They're known as tricksters as well. I have to go in with this red a little bit more. I do not like how it's so thin in the layering there. How we can't, as a modern society, go back into the time and relate to those people who might have had chlorophobia in the earlier centuries, we can at least say that for the people that do not like clowns and find them insane or just genuinely fearful, there's other reasons for why people can be terrified of clowns. Like, for example, in pop culture, one of the biggest things that we all know is Stephen King's It, or as also known as the clown Pennywise. Pennywise is pretty terrifying. For one thing, in the very first scene, no spoilers, but I'm sorry, spoilers. In the first scene with It, Pennywise is in a sewer of all places and manages to capture and eat a small child. So, pretty terrifying stuff. Now, Pennywise isn't the only creepy clown in modern culture that's scary. We've also seen other clowns from American Horror Story. We've seen clowns used in other terrifying movies such as Terrifier. There's also the very real serial killer clown known as John Wayne Gacy, which I believe we're going to get into in a story this week about that. So you see, there's a lot of reasons for why people have an irrational fear of clowns. Now you might be wondering, Lern, are you afraid of clowns? Honestly, I'm not. I can respect people who are. I definitely can. And I think that clowns can be made very scary just like anything else. But I always had a really lovely experience with clowns. Little bit of a side note, when I was growing up in my elementary school, we had a clown that visited us. Her name was Mama the Clown. Yes, Mama the Clown. And she was so sweet, and she would paint our faces and tell jokes and make us balloon animals. I loved her, and I loved clowns because of Mama the Clown. I mean, some other people have some really terrifying tales of why they don't like clowns. I want to let this dry a little bit. I'm going to go over it and do another layer to make it a little bit more opaque. And the next thing I think I'm going to work on is the face of our beautiful clown lady. She's beauty, she's grace. So yes, people are terrified of clowns and people have a very real fear of them, but they're all fictional, right? We're not gonna open our door one day and find a terrifying clown at our front doorstep ready to kill us with a murderous knife and look on their face, right? You see, there was a time in 2016 where people decided to dress as creepy clowns and hide in places like the forest or desolate areas where people could randomly find them. And oftentimes these people would do a number of things. They would hide in the woods and then pop out and scare people that were unassuming of them. They would stalk people. Some of them even brandish weapons. So pretty terrifying stuff. Now, many people speculate that the origins of this creepy clown clan came from an original source who dubbed himself Wrinkles the Clown. Now, Wrinkles the Clown originated from Florida. God damn it, Florida. He started as just his own little business. There's actually a fantastic documentary about this on Hulu called Wrinkles the Clown, so I recommend watching it if you're not afraid of clowns. And it all started as a prank. He would present himself as a retired circus clown, saying that, oh, nobody would hire me when I was just a regular clown. Now you can hire me to scare your kids. But it was all fake. All of it was staged. There were all these videos out there of him supposedly finding himself in children's bedrooms at night and like coming to their house, and you know, his phone number would be advertised where you could call him. Oh no. No, I touched my, oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, we're fine. You could call him and say, hey, like, come and scare my kids because my kids suck and they're being terrible. Fake. All of it was staged. It was mostly just for show, but were people terrified of Wrinkles the Clown and the idea of this creepy clown coming to get you? But people started to say, oh, well, then I'll just kill him if he shows up to my house. So let's put a pin in that idea, shall we? There was also a case in, like I said, 2016, when all these people started to copycat each other and started stalking people in the woods or in public places or going to people's houses and neighborhoods as creepy clowns to scare people as a prank. Well, it just so happened that at least one person was shot. I have a list, okay? The first thing on the list, number 1, don't play with Ouija boards. Don't play with spirit boards, right? That's a pretty easy one to not do, yeah? Number 2, don't dress as a clown to scare random people. Guys. If you're in America, you are probably understanding of the fact that there are plenty of gun-toting Americans who do not handle that shit very well, yeah? Yeah. Why in the world would you do something like that when you know that someone is going to be crazy and want to kill you first? I have a list, guys. That's number 2. Is everybody taking notes at home? Number 2. So the point of that whole story is that eventually this became fatal. And from what I understand, it all stopped. Or at least I haven't heard any stories in the most recent year. So who knows? I do live in a very wooded area. So sometimes I do get a little creeped out by the woods. At night, I can hear a lot of things. You know, I can see things in the dark that maybe aren't actually there, but my eyes are tricking me. Or at least I hope so. The point is that I get pretty easily creeped out, and I love this kind of thing. So if you're out there and you think that it's funny to do that, I'm gonna save you some time. Don't do it. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start detailing out a little bit more. I realize I've been talking more than painting. Sorry about that. But I want to get us started with stories. So from what I understand, the first couple of stories are actually from an article. So they're going to be more informational than anything, but I hear that they're great. And then the last story today is an actual encounter. So very fun stuff. Let's get into stories.
Our first story comes to us from the New York Post article titled The Cold Case Clown. On May 26, 1990, at 10:45 a.m. in Wellington, Florida, Marlene Warren opened her door to find a bulb-nosed clown holding a bouquet of red and white flowers and 2 balloons, one embezzled with a picture of Snow White. The clown shot her point blank in the face, and she died at the hospital 2 days later. Warren's teenage son saw the clown run to a white Chrysler LeBaron and escape, never to be found. This is the strangest thing I've seen in all of my 19 years of law enforcement, Palm Beach County Sheriff spokesman Bob Feller told the Sun Sentinel. Warren's husband, Michael Warren, was a prime suspect in the crime. Police searched his office at a West Palm Beach car dealership and found evidence that he had tampered with odometers, but nothing to connect him to his wife's murder. However, a suspected affair and 5-figure life insurance policy looked suspicious. Michael Warren was allegedly romantically involved with a female employee. The flowers and the balloons delivered before Marlene's murder was purchased at stores near the employee's apartment, and a costume shop employee tentatively identified her as the woman who had purchased a clown costume the same day as the killing. Neither were charged in the murder, but the case remains unsolved.
Okay, I had to rewind that back so that I could make sure that I got all that right, because oh my god. The first thing I think of is, why didn't you look through the peephole? Because if I had looked through the peephole, I would have been like, Well, I would have called the police, first of all. I don't like to victim blame, but I also am just like, I would never do that. Oh my God. Also, I think it's really crazy that it was never solved, because that's a pretty specific car, but I know like back then, and a lot of people could have had that car too. Just, that's so unfortunate. And also the son saw it. I mean, the fact that they think that the girlfriend did it is fucked up. Guys, I know sometimes that I joke and I say, oh, I would kill for a nice coffee right now. But I wouldn't do that! Don't. Remember my list, number 2. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
This story comes to us from the New York Post article entitled Pogo the Clown, the story of John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, was an established community leader, named the Springfield, Illinois Man of the Year in 1964 by a local group, and performed as a beloved children's clown, Pogo. Gacy was first arrested on sodomy charges in 1968 after the father of a 15-year-old boy Gacy had hired to do odd jobs around his house told authorities that Gacy forced his son into oral sex. Gacy received a 10-year sentence, but was released after 2 years due to good behavior, and was given 12 months probation. During his time in prison, Gacy's first wife filed for divorce. After his release in 1970, he relocated to Des Plaines, Illinois, where he married his high school sweetheart, began a contracting business, and created Pogo the Clown, who became a popular figure at birthday parties and at children's hospitals. His second wife filed for divorce in 1975 after he admitted that he was sexually attracted to young men. Between 1972 and 1978, he tortured, raped, and murdered at least 33 boys. Gacy was convicted of 12 murders and sentenced to death on March 13, 1980. He was executed by lethal injection on May 9, 1994. While in prison, Gacy painted dozens of portraits of himself as Pogo. After his execution, his attorney auctioned off his artwork, some of which was purchased and burned at a bonfire attended by his victims' family members.
Okay, so I know a lot about John Wayne Gacy. Obviously, I'm really big into true crime, so I have already known who he was and Pogo the Clown, and I knew all of that. I also knew that he raped and tortured and murdered young boys. And, like, not to get really down and gloomy, everybody, I love that this show is, like, especially kooky and spooky and fun, but I do want to say that my theory as to why John Wayne Gacy was like that, I'm not at all defending him. Like, he was a monster. He was an absolute freaking monster for murdering and torturing those poor boys. But I will also say that in that time, homosexuality was not looked at as something healthy and something acceptable. And I believe that he was a product of someone who was not allowed to be himself. And so he translated that into torturing and raping because he himself was tortured. So, I mean, I definitely just think it's hilarious that all of his, a lot of his paintings were bought by the victims' family members and they were burned, because that's what you get, bitch. I don't feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for my busted up nose, but not for you. So I am really going very fast with this. I need to go in and do a lot more detailing in the face because right now it's kind of baking, to use makeup terms. But I am gonna go in, finish up the detail on the face, add some blood on the face, and then work on the background, finish up the detailing in the hair, And that should give us enough time to listen to our final story.
Our final story comes to us from Redditor Lopsided Squid. I don't know if many of you remember this, but back in 2016, there was a creepy clown trend where people would dress as creepy killer clowns and would hang out in places after dark or stalk people. My story takes place on my college campus during the fall of that year. I lived with my grandparents before leaving for school, and I'm extremely close to them. Also, I am very shy and had zero friends or people I regularly hang out with at school. I wanted to reach out and meet new folks, so I signed up for a salsa dancing club that met on Friday nights. I told my grandma over the phone, and she was happy I was putting myself out there. She asked if I was going with anybody. No, I told her. I'm just gonna go by myself. Are you sure? She asked. Don't any of your roommates want to go? The idea of talking to my roommates terrified me. I could handle structured gatherings, but personal conversations left more room for awkwardness to creep in. No, they're not here. I don't want you walking around campus by yourself at night. I thought my grandma was being overprotective. Grandma, it's fine. The streets are well lit, and it's only a 10-minute walk. It's perfectly safe. Well, if you're not going with anybody, call me and let me talk to you on the phone on your way back. I agreed. That evening was incredibly fun, learning the basic steps and dancing to upbeat Latin tunes. At around 10:30, I felt ready to head back to my dorm, so I snuck out of the building and headed towards my dorm. Although the paved path I was walking was well lit by streetlights, it seemed darker than usual. In addition, the entire campus was deserted. Normally, there were quite a few kids my age wandering around, but that night, there wasn't a soul to be seen. I dialed my grandma and made small talk with her as I walked. I took my heels off and I carried them in my free hand. Now, the path I was walking on was past a stretch of sidewalk that was perpendicular to the one I was taking. Under one of the streetlights, about 10 meters away, I noticed a lone figure standing with its back towards me. The figure, hearing me chat on the phone, slowly turned toward me. He was a tall, heavy-set man with wild red hair and appeared to be wearing light blue pajamas. His face was obscured by a killer clown mask. The mask was stark white with dark black eye sockets and a twisted, malicious grin. Time seemed to suddenly slow way down. The clown did not move towards me. He simply stood there, staring. I knew I had to think fast. I contemplated my options. I could A, scream like a little girl and run, B, approach him and confront him, or C, pretend he didn't scare me. The entire moment I just described couldn't have lasted more than a second, but in the moment, it felt like an eternity. Are you there? I heard my grandma say. Remembering to breathe with the phone still on my ear, I decided to go with plan C. I broke eye contact with the clown. So anyway, I said loudly enough that the clown would hear me. Yeah, I'm on my way, I continued. What is going on? Is everything okay? I heard my grandma ask, her voice suddenly filled with anxiety. As confidently and nonchalantly as I could, I walked past the sidewalk where the clown was standing and continued to chat. His head slowly turned as I walked past, watching me until I was out of sight. I ducked to the archway of the nearest building and tried the door, praying it was unlocked. It was. Once I was inside, I slumped against the concrete wall and broke down in tears. I explained to my grandmother what just happened. My grandma yelled for my grandpa to dial the campus police on his cell phone so that I could stay on the line with her. I got up and started pacing down towards the empty halls, checking every door and window to see if the psycho clown was still following me. He was just a stupid kid doing this dare, right? Or was he someone with more evil intentions? Some of the creepy clowns in the news had axes or baseball bats. I had no idea if mine was armed. When my grandpa tried to explain to the officer on the phone what had happened and that I needed help, he told my grandpa, "Your granddaughter needs to make the call herself." Apparently, the reason I had to talk to them was so that they could be sure the call wasn't a prank or some stupid reason like that. The point is that they wouldn't take my grandparents' word that I was in distress. I would have to hang up with my grandma and dial the campus police myself. Not knowing if I would survive that night, I told my grandma between sobs, "I love you." "I love you too." My grandma was also crying. I dialed the campus police and told them what was happening. The officer on the phone sent several other officers to find me while I stayed on the phone with him and gave him a description of the clown. As I was talking, I heard a door open. I froze. Was the clown there? Did he find his way in? A tidal wave of relief washed over me as several officers came striding down the corridor. They walked with me back to my dorm. As soon as I was inside, I locked my door and window and I shut the blinds. I called my grandma back to tell her I was safe. After talking for a little while longer, we said goodnight. Since then, I've made a few more friends at school. While I'm in a better place now, I don't go out alone after dark anymore. And as for the creepy clown, let's not meet again.
I am so happy she's okay. Wow. That is really terrifying. And see, that is why that is number 2 on the list. Because if you do that, I don't really understand what you're trying to prove or what you're trying to make of yourself. Because you're being terrifying and for no reason. And you really can scar some people. That poor girl could have been scarred for life. And maybe she is. And the thing is that I'm so happy, Ghosts and Ghoulies, that she has friends now, and and she felt better, and everything ended up working out well. But clearly, I don't think this guy was gonna do anything to her. But I think that this idiot, that's what I'm calling him, I said it. This idiot decided to go ahead and put on this stupid dumb clown outfit purely to scare people. And he scared her, and he got his jollies off of it. Right, I said jollies like I'm in the 50s. What do you want? Sorry, I'm getting angry for no reason. I need to pull back. Thing I'm trying to say is that I don't think that guy was going to do anything to her, but I would have done exactly the same as her. I would have, been on the phone with somebody, definitely would have immediately assumed that he was armed, and assumed that he was going to hurt me. I absolutely, in the phone, would have been like, "Hey, you're coming to meet me with an army of people, right? Torches and pitchforks? Fire! Lots of fire!" I have no time for that shit. I have no time for that shit. In a fight or flight response, I will admit I am not very subtle. That's how I'll put that. Okay, so I have to go in and I have to do a whole lot. As you can see, I've started the background. So what I want to do is I want the background to be red and orange. So I'm going to do the last layer of red, probably go over it again so it's a little bit more opaque, and then go over the white spots with orange. I still need to add blood to the clown face, finish up the detail of the lips a little bit and the detail of the hair, and then we should be good. So in a magic moment, just like that. Well, everybody, there we are. It's our very creepy, very bloody, very, very bloody clown lady. I mean, look at that. Look at all that blood. Oh, man. I am so happy you joined me for yet again another episode of Conjuring Canvases. I hope that you enjoyed. I want to go ahead also and give another really special shout out to another small YouTuber just like myself. He is an art channel, and he was so kind as to shout out our channel, reach out to me when I dealt with a terrible time of my equipment failing me last week. So I really appreciate him. His channel is Neek Da Geek, and he does some really, really great art. He freehands a lot of cool stuff. He's very, very talented, and what I really like about his videos is that not only are they a lot of culture-y stuff that we know, just as fellow nerds and geeks out there, but also they are so relaxing to have him just draw and just chill. He's really, really great. Please check him out, and hopefully you'll consider subscribing to him. Speaking of, we hope that you enjoyed so much that you will also continue to like and perhaps consider subscribing. So thanks so much for joining me for another awesome episode. I'll be seeing you next week for our Halloween episode. Until then, remember the rules of Conjuring. Never play alone, never play in a graveyard, and always say goodbye. Goodbye, ghosties and ghoulies. Where did that go?
Andy, save me. Ow.
So, oh no, I touched my nose again.